Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. The final round. We start off the final round with Professor Rajiv Vijayasinghe, former Member of Parliament, as well as former leader of the Liberal Party. Impact on the subcontinent, impact on Sri Lanka. What's going to happen?
Well, I think for Sri Lanka things will be, I hope, better. The simple point is they would have been much worse under Hillary, so I think we have to be optimistic. That doesn't mean things will be all very good. We have to manage our foreign policy very well over the next few months. We certainly can't have a foreign minister who says, I wish we had Hillary around, just as, Ranil went off to Brexit and tried to save Britain from the exiters. I think we have to be very careful and think very carefully. We also have to calibrate our policy. You asked a question about how the Americans could deal with extremism in the Middle East. And the obvious answer is to ask the only country in the world that has dealt successfully with terrorism, which is Sri Lanka, while at the same time preserving the lives and the democratic input of the community from which they sprang. And I think there's a lot that we can teach America. And I hope that at any rate, I don't suppose the present ambassador, who's obviously very much part of the democratic agenda, will be able to do it. But I think a good American ambassador will learn that perhaps it's time to ask our military, instead of trying to persecute them, to discuss with the Americans. Because don't forget, we learned a lot from the Americans in 2007 and 2008 as well. And I think there is a time for mutual exchange of intelligent dealing with extremism while preserving the moderates. India will be, I think, quite interesting, because I think the Obama regime was pushing the idea of India as the alternative to China. But I also think that underlying it, and the Indian foreign policy establishment, which is very bright, understood it, there was the idea of possibly dealing with the provinces or the states in India, because America is very much against strong central government. And I think if Modi had been foolish enough to succumb to too much of Americanism, he would have found that there would have been encouragement of vociferous tendencies. I think Trump will not allow that, and I think the Indian government and its established foreign policy thinkers will have to deliver a different message to India also about how to deal with America.
Thank you very much, Professor Rajiv Vijayasinghe, a former Member of Parliament as well as the former leader of the Liberal Party of Sri Lanka. I now move my attention to Asanga Abhegunasekara, Director General, Institute of National Security Studies in Sri Lanka. What can we learn from the electoral system in the United States? Asanga, I'm aware that you also contested an election in Sri Lanka. However, you were very unfortunate not to be selected to the Sri Lankan Parliament. Given all this, do you think that we can learn something from the United States as far as the electoral system is concerned? Clinton winning the more popular vote but losing an election. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think if you look at the system that we have, we need an enormous amount of money spent, which I was not for it. I mean, from the first day of my elections, it's actually it's meant for the present day. It's for like people who has enormous amount of money, more than 100 million rupees, and they're sort of or more than that, because you have to campaign the entire district, and which is quite a tough thing for if you're working as an academic or in a different field to get elected. So I think those things, I think the electoral, definitely there should be some reforms in Sri Lanka, so that you could get some different lot of people, I would say, because not what you're getting is the same lot always, I would say. So that needs to change. For that to change, I think we need to move into a better electoral, I would say, reform. And
where are we really heading, Asanga?
Well, if you look at Sri Lanka, according to the Global Competitiveness Index, Sri Lanka has moved from a factor-driven to an efficiency-driven country. We are the only country in South Asia to move from factor to efficiency. And comparing to most of the other South Asian countries, we are doing quite well in that area. But internally we have a lot of issues. For example, like the weak institutions that the state is having, the loss-making institutions. We need to strengthen them. What the United States has is strong institutions, and what Mexico doesn't have is strong institutions. That's why Mexico is like that. So what we need to do is actually create strong institutions, bring in meritocracy and to our system, and recognize people for whatever the work they have done and all that, and have the proper people in the proper positions.
Building a wall is not the solution, nor stopping Muslims entering the country.
I think with the fourth industrial revolution right now, that's the world that we are living. You can't build walls. It's just impossible.
Thank you very much, Asanga, for your thoughts as well, for joining us this evening on the show. And Dr. Harinder Vidanage, Director, Bandaranaike Center for International Studies, you are getting the final baton to run. Where is the world heading? Where is the United States heading? What is really happening to the world?
Well, the world is actually it's resetting. When I say resetting, the kind of the way the power, where the power has kind of shifted. The epicenter of power is shifting. That means the U.S. institutions, the idea of neoliberalism, the idea that there is one major arc in global politics, that is changing. But the problem is, what is it changing into? People are not analysts are grappling with the question. I mean, even from my discipline, if it's from an international relations perspective, people are not seeing where the world is heading. Of course, we are seeing the crises of the world. Some people argue we're actually living in the same time as in the early 20th century, the interwar period between World War I and World War II, the Great Depression, the rise of Hitler, the mass populism, right-wing drift, the left-wing drift. If you draw parallels, you're seeing the same things, a massive right-wing drift globally, rise of strong politicians who disregard institutions, who kind of seem to have the ability to sway people's opinions. So it may be Trump, it may be Modi, it may be Duterte, it may be Marine Le Pen, and it may be many more. So we are definitely seeing a kind of a gradual stalling of the neoliberal order which was governing many things. So the world is changing like that. The future remains uncertain. We really don't know, because a lot of people are celebrating the US is finally losing its primacy. But then my worry is, what is going to happen? Are we better off in no one's world? It's called no one's world. Or are we better with an Asian century? With China, Indonesia, Australia, India, Sri Lanka, all we are in the whole Indo-Pacific system. Are we the future as Asians? Are we the rising power? Or are we in for a kind of a very, very bumpy, turbulent 20 to 30 years in the future? Because it needs to reset again. Strong leadership, populism, that's not a great recipe for global governance.
Are you bullish about the appointment of Donald Trump as the President of the United States?
Am I?
Are you bullish? Are you happy? Are you optimistic about his appointment as
No, I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm not worried. I'm concerned. Not because it's Trump. I'm concerned that finally the U.S. system is going through the anomaly. Right? It's like the Matrix movie. Finally, something is happening.
Thank you very much.
So we'll end it there.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harinder Vidanage, Director, Bandaranaike Center for International Studies, for joining us this evening. Thank you very much, Professor Rajiv Jayasinha, former Member of Parliament and former leader of the Liberal Party, as well as Asanga Abegunasekara, Director General, Institute of National Security Studies, Sri Lanka, for joining us this evening. Thank you very much, Nadeem. Thank you very much, Zulfik. For us, I want some of your thoughts on this. The News First Gamba, the program, really going against the status quo of this island nation. A media institution coming forward and establishing relationship with the people, getting the people, the corporate sector of this country to sponsor many projects, and exercising what is called the largest humanitarian development effort in the country.
Actually, there's what you say is absolutely true. There have been many positive contributions that our group has made into putting back into society in this country. Not always fully appreciated or maybe understood by the urban elite here. But out there, in the rural mass of our country, the people have recognized that the Gammad initiative, it has not only captured the hearts of the people, but it's actually captured their minds, because they understand what it is this program is all about. It's about helping those people that have been forgotten and helping, getting their lives better, getting them going again, all forgotten by the very urban elite or politicians and so on.
When there are politicians, or when there are individuals who are making U-turns, when there are individuals who have been in power for many, many years and not doing enough for you at home, we came for a rescue. We will do so in the future. We will stand by you. We are an organization that is homegrown, and we will always be with you in the future as well. I leave you tonight with a quote about the subject that we spoke of. That is the election of Donald J. Trump and where is the world heading. I leave you tonight with a quote. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedom, it will be because we destroyed it ourselves. Abraham Lincoln. Take care. Good night.